Why you should never ignore an unnamed folder. Scary digital horror story. If you're sitting in front of your computer right now, take a quick look at your desktop. Among your usual icons, is there a single, unnamed folder sitting there as if it always belonged? Normally, you just delete it. Hit delete. Empty trash. Done. But what if that folder wouldn't delete? Or, more accurately, what if it refused to be deleted? Alex, a freelance editor living in Chicago, actually laughed when he first saw that message. Computers don't talk like humans, right? But after that day, Alex never went to sleep without checking his desktop first. Because the folder with his name on it was slowly growing. Alex always worked at night. Curtains drawn during the day, room lit only by the glow of his monitor at night. To him, his room was practically a studio. Instant ramen boxes, empty coffee cans, half-used sticky notes, and a laptop that was always on. It was deadline day. A short commercial edit. The client's request was simple, clean, and natural. Alex arranged his timeline, moved his files into folders, and cleared his desktop, just like always. A messy desktop bothered him. It made him distracted, his mind feeling cluttered. The only thing left was a single temporary folder. Alex moved his mouse, then stopped. It wasn't his temporary folder. Right in the middle of his desktop sat a folder. The icon was a standard folder, but it was somewhat translucent. The colors were washed out, its edges vibrating ever so slightly. The strangest part was the name. It didn't have one. It was completely blank. For a second, Alex thought he'd forgotten to type a name before clicking away when he created it. But that was a common mistake. So, without much thought, he moved his cursor over it. Delete. Nothing happened. Huh. Alex hit the key again. Then, a small warning chime echoed. A thin, piercing ding. A pop-up window appeared in the center of the screen. Error. This item refused to be deleted. Alex held his breath for a second. The phrasing was completely wrong. Not access denied, not file in use, but refused. He let out a scoff. Refused? Since when do folders refuse? Alex moved his mouse and closed the pop-up. He clicked on the folder again. It didn't even highlight. It was as if his clicks were bouncing off it, the cursor slightly pushed away. Shaking his wrist, he clicked again. This time it selected. Just for a split second. In that moment, his cursor's movement became incredibly sluggish. It felt like his desktop was suddenly coated in a thick layer of gel. The closer the cursor got to the folder, the slower it moved. If he moved it away, it went back to normal. Thinking it was a glitch, Alex intentionally moved the cursor in circles. It was true. There was a literal swamp surrounding the folder. What is this, a bug? He rebooted the laptop. A reboot fixes everything. Usually. The screen went black, the logo appeared, and the desktop loaded back up. The folder was still there. Still unnamed. Still sitting dead center. As if a reboot had absolutely no authority over it. That night, Alex decided to ignore it. The deadline was met, his body was exhausted, and it was 2 a.m., too late to care. He closed his laptop lid, turned off the lights, and lay down in bed. Right before he fell asleep, a very faint sound echoed in the room. It was the laptop's cooling fan, even though the lid was closed. Alex opened his eyes and stared into the dark room. The monitor was off, but he could feel a faint flow of air coming from the desk. The fan was spinning up and winding down, almost as if it were breathing. He got up and placed his hand on the closed lid. It was warm. Unnaturally warm. I'll deal with you tomorrow. Alex muttered to himself and lay back down. For a moment, there was silence. But the silence felt even more uncomfortable. He pulled his pillow close and forced his eyes shut. The next morning, Alex recalled last night's events while brewing coffee. A funny little bug. He even thought about Googling folder refuses to delete. Out of habit, he opened his laptop. The moment the desktop appeared, the coffee turned cold in his mouth. The folder had a name. User_Alex. That wasn't just a random name. It was his name. His account name. The label attached to his entire life. For a terrifying second, Alex wondered if someone had broken into his apartment. But the door was locked. The windows were untouched. He opened the folder. Inside, there was a single text file. Activity_log.txt. He double-clicked it. A notepad window opened. Short sentences were listed line by line. 7:42, Alex wakes up. 7:51, uses the bathroom. 8:03, prepares coffee. 8:11, opens window for 3 minutes. 8:16, checks phone, 2 messages. Alex stared at the screen, then slowly lifted his head. He had just opened the window. For exactly 3 minutes. He had just checked his phone. Exactly 2 messages. He felt his fingertips go cold. This wasn't some generic tracking data. This was way too specific. Alex forced a hollow laugh as he closed the file. What the hell did I install yesterday? He tried to delete the folder. Delete. The pop-up appeared. Error. This item refused to be deleted. He wasn't laughing anymore. He tried to drag the folder to the recycle bin. It wouldn't budge. When he dragged the mouse harder, only the cursor trembled in the air. The folder remained pinned to the screen. A sudden wave of nausea hit him. Like a small ritual, he grabbed a piece of black tape and covered the laptop's webcam. He hated the feeling of the camera looking at him. He couldn't explain why, but he hated it. Then, he called a friend. He didn't want to deal with this alone. Hey, you busy today? His friend laughed. Why, another deadline? No, just, my computer is acting weird. A virus? I don't know. There's this folder, it won't delete. His friend laughed harder. Dude, if a folder won't delete, just reinstall the OS. The message is weird. It says it refuses. What? Your computer grew feelings. Alex tried to laugh, but his throat was completely dry. After hanging up, he mindlessly opened the folder again. There was a new file. Call_recording.wave. Alex froze. He hadn't recorded anything. But the timestamp matched his call perfectly. He played the file. His friend's voice came through the speakers. The exact conversation. Even the laughter. But at the very end, after the call had supposedly ended, a voice Alex didn't remember making spoke up. It's okay, it'll be over soon. It was Alex's voice. But he never said those words. He slammed the laptop shut the second the recording ended. His palms were drenched in sweat. Day 3. Alex left the apartment. He felt like if he stayed, he'd just stare at that folder all day. He sat in a cafe and opened his laptop. The moment the desktop loaded, he stopped breathing. The folder had followed him. More accurately, the folder from his desktop. It was as if it was permanently attached to his account, appearing wherever he logged in. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The user_Alex folder was sitting right in the center of his screen at the cafe. The cursor slowed down around it, just like before. He looked around at the other people in the cafe. No one looked alarmed. They were all just staring at their own screens. Alex felt like he was the only one seeing a ghost. When he opened the folder, there was another new file. Receipt underscore 08:37.txt. The file listed the exact price of the coffee and sandwich he had just bought at the convenience store that morning. The time, the amount, the payment method. And at the very bottom, one more line. Next is 9:12. Alex checked his watch. 9:06. He zoned out for a moment. And then, 9:12. The cafe door swung open, and a delivery guy walked in. He walked straight up to Alex. "Are you Alex? Here's your order." Alex hadn't ordered anything. The delivery guy handed him a receipt. Alex's name was on it. It was already paid for. Alex spat out a choked, "No." The delivery guy looked confused and checked his phone. "That's weird. The order account. Right here. It says user_Alex. He trailed off, frowning, and tapped cancel order on his app. The app froze for a second. Then, a brief message flashed on his screen. Cancel failed. The delivery guy let out an awkward chuckle and walked away. In that moment, a chill ran down Alex's spine. Something was using his name, using his accounts. It was touching his reality. He practically ran out of the cafe. Standing on the street, he pulled out his smartphone. Right in the middle of his home screen, there was an unfamiliar icon. A folder icon. The name was user_Alex. His breath trembled. The folder hadn't just moved from his laptop to his phone. It existed simultaneously on both. He tapped delete on his phone. For a second, the screen went dark. And suddenly, a commotion broke out inside the cafe he just left. People were covering their ears. Someone yelled that their wireless earbuds were blasting a high-pitched screech. Alex didn't run, but he walked away as fast as his legs could carry him. Night 4. Alex slept with earplugs in. He didn't want to hear anything. But in the middle of the night, his smartphone lit up. It wasn't a ringtone, it wasn't a vibration. It was a tiny, sharp tick sound, as if something was tapping on the glass from the inside. He looked at the screen. The caller ID. His own number. His own name. His own profile picture. He had seen that contact card before. It was his own contact info. He knew he shouldn't answer it. But his finger, almost out of habit, swiped the screen. Call connected. For a second, there was nothing. And then, from very, very close. Breathing. Heavy, irregular breathing. Like someone was standing right in front of him in the dark, inhaling deeply. Alex instinctively pulled the phone away from his ear and looked at the screen. Call duration 004. The breathing grew louder. He managed to speak. "Who are you?" Through the heavy breathing, a very low whisper brushed past his ear. "It's me." Alex hung up. His hands were shaking so violently he could barely press the button. He threw the phone onto the bed. Just then, the AI smart speaker in his living room lit up. "Alex, you have 5% battery remaining." Alex's eyes widened. His smartphone battery was at 78%. He stared in the direction of the living room and said, "My battery? What do you mean, my battery?" The speaker seemed to pause. And then, in a perfectly clear, mechanical voice, it replied, "Not your smartphone. You." Alex tried to scream, but his throat seized up. He marched over and yanked the power cord from the speaker. The moment he did, his laptop turned itself on across the room. The lid was still closed, but the screen illuminated the wall behind it. The folder was sitting in the center of the desktop, and its name had changed again. Archiving_Alex_18%. Alex didn't want to know why that number was going up. But he couldn't look away. He barely slept that night. Day 5. Alex looked in the mirror that morning. His eyes were sunken, his face pale. As he washed his face, he tried to shake off the feeling that he was being recorded. But the sound of the water draining in the sink sounded wrong. A thin layer of digital static, a faint buzz, overlaid the sound of the running water. He walked back to his room and looked at his laptop. The folder had grown again, much larger than yesterday. The file size had increased noticeably. He opened the folder. Files were piled up like a mountain. One caught his eye. face_09:10.jpg. The current time was 9:07. He opened the photo. In the photo was Alex. Alex, having just washed his face, walking back into the room. Wet hair, droplets on his chin, slightly trembling pupils. The angle was looking down, straight from the top of the monitor. But he had taped over the webcam. Yet the photo was crystal clear. Alex used his fingernail to peel the tape off. The lens was pristine. There wasn't even a smudge of adhesive left. Goosebumps erupted across his skin as he stumbled backward. Right then, a new file appeared in the folder, right in front of his eyes, as if someone had just dragged and dropped it in live. Tape_removed.txt. His lips felt glued together. He opened the file. 9:08, camera obstruction removed. He inhaled sharply, then slowly exhaled. "You're watching me," he whispered. Instantly, the folder's name changed. Listening. Alex dropped the mouse. His fingers went stiff. He slowly lifted his head and scanned the room. No one was there. But something had just reacted to his voice. That afternoon, Alex made a decision. This isn't my computer's problem. It's not my apartment. It's my accounts. He decided to abandon his digital identity. He figured if he created new emails, new accounts, and changed his passwords, it would be over. He opened a sign-up page for a new email. Name, password, confirm password. He typed a new password and clicked submit. Password cannot be used. He tried a different one. Password cannot be used. He tried something incredibly simple. Password cannot be used. Finally, defeated, he typed in his old, original password. It went through. The next screen asked him to confirm his account name. User_Alex. It was already filled in. He deleted it. Typed a new name. Deleted it again. He clicked confirm. The screen froze for a second, and then immediately reverted back to user_Alex. Alex sat in his chair, completely paralyzed. For the first time, he realized he wasn't allowed to start over. Night 6. Alex called his friend over. He felt like he was going to lose his mind if he stayed alone. When his friend walked in, Alex forced a smile. "I need to show you something seriously messed up." He turned on the laptop. The folder was in the center. His friend tilted his head. "What?" "It's just a folder. Try to delete it." His friend hit delete. The pop-up appeared. "Error. This item refused to be deleted." His friend chuckled. "Dude, this is actually pretty funny. Did someone prank you? Look inside." His friend opened the folder. His expression dropped immediately. Activity_log.txt. Call_recording.wave. Face_09:10.jpg. And right in the middle, a file his friend had never seen before. Guest_entry.txt. His friend opened it. 1921, guest entered. 1922, guest's pupils dilating. 1922, guest's heart rate increasing. 1923, guest mentioned prank. His friend's lips pressed into a thin line. "Hey, what the hell is this?" Alex couldn't speak. His friend saw it too. The records. This wasn't just Alex's delusion. At that exact moment, his friend's smartphone rang. Caller ID, Alex. His friend looked at Alex. Is this you? Alex shook his head slowly. It's not me. When his friend answered, the same heavy breathing echoed through the speaker. And then, a very quiet voice. Don't close me. His friend hung up without making a sound. He started backing away towards the door. Hey man, I gotta go. Alex grabbed his arm. Don't go. I can't be alone. His friend yanked his arm away. I'm sorry. You need to figure this out yourself. Before he even finished his sentence, the laptop screen flashed a blinding white. Like a massive camera flash going off inside the room. His friend's face went pale. He grabbed the door handle and tried to pull, but the door wouldn't open. The smart lock was engaged. Alex was speechless. He pulled out his phone and opened the smart lock app. The moment the app loaded, a message popped up. Update required. He hit update. A loading will spun for a second. Then, text appeared on the screen. Update completed. Access denied. Alex mashed the button 3 times. Same message. His friend's voice was shaking. Dude, what the fuck is this? Alex wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the laptop. The folder's name had changed. Archiving _Alex _63%. Archiving _guest _12%. His friend saw that number and touched his own face, as if verifying his own existence. I'm 12%. Suddenly, the smart lock clicked open, as if it had decided they were adequately terrified. His friend practically sprinted out the door. The second the door slammed shut, Alex couldn't stand the silence of the room. Day 7. Alex ignored his phone. The messages from his friend sat unread, but strangely, the messaging app would occasionally mark them as read on its own. Alex didn't want to connect with anyone anymore. But the folder wouldn't let him disconnect. That afternoon, Alex dug out an old external hard drive. It held his childhood photos and videos. That was the one thing he refused to let it take. He plugged the drive into the laptop. Instantly, the screen hitched. A new folder appeared inside the main folder. Childhood. Alex's eyes widened. He hadn't created that folder. But when he opened it, his childhood photos were there. Except, they were different from the originals. The faces of his family members in the photos were blurred out. And in the center, only the young Alex was in sharp focus. What was even more disturbing was that the young Alex was staring directly into the camera lens. Not looking at the person taking the photo, but staring through the screen. Alex yanked the hard drive out. But the childhood folder remained on his desktop. Data that wouldn't disappear even when physically disconnected. In that moment, he realized the folder had already finished copying. That night, Alex asked himself for the first time, how much of me is actually left here? Day 8. Alex went for a walk to get some fresh air. The snow-covered streets of Chicago were quiet. People's faces rushed past him in a blur. For a moment, he thought he could forget about the folder. But at a street corner, someone called his name. Alex. He turned his head. It was a stranger. A delivery courier. The man held up his phone screen. This has been popping up on my screen all day. This is you, right? On the screen was a photo of Alex. And a sentence. Looking for this person, user_Alex. Alex couldn't find his voice. Where did you get that? The courier shrugged. I don't know, the app just changed to this. I can't even hit cancel. Alex stumbled backward. He practically ran back to his apartment. The moment he stepped inside, his laptop was already on. The folder's number had climbed higher. Archiving _Alex _ 85%. There was a new file inside. Replacement _preview.mp4. Alex knew he shouldn't play it, but his hand moved on its own. He clicked play. In the video was Alex. But something was off. His face looked too relaxed, his eyes too steady. He stared directly into the camera and smiled. "I am the updated Alex." Alex slammed the laptop shut. His heart was hammering against his ribs. He tried to get a glass of water from the kitchen. His hand was shaking so badly, he could barely hold the cup. He felt it in his bones. He was fully prepared to be replaced. Day 9. Alex decided to fight back one last time. He carried his laptop to the bathroom. He was going to fill the bathtub and drown the machine. Ironically, in that moment, he felt completely calm. It's a machine. Machines die in water. He held the laptop over the tub. Right then, a piercing alarm blared from the laptop. The screen flashed to life. The folder was open. A massive sentence dominated the center of the screen. Physical resistance will result in data loss. Alex hesitated for a split second. It felt like a threat. He gritted his teeth and lowered the laptop further. Suddenly, his palms seared with an agonizing heat. The bottom of the laptop had become impossibly hot. He swallowed a scream and dropped it. It didn't fall into the water. It hit the bathroom tiles. Even after the impact, the screen remained flawlessly lit. Alex looked at his palms. On his red, blistered skin, there was a perfect, square burn mark. The exact shape of a folder. He collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. In that moment, the folder's name changed again. Archiving _Alex _ 93%. Pain _recorded. Alex finally understood. The folder wasn't trying to torture him. It was logging his reactions. The fear, the anger, the resistance. To the folder, it was all just data. And the 10th day? It was morning, but his room was pitch black. He hadn't opened the curtains. Alex couldn't get out of bed. Getting up meant looking at that screen again. But eventually, he stood up. Eventually, he sat down at his desk. The laptop was already on. Dead center on the desktop, one single folder. The name wasn't a percentage anymore. Ready. The simplicity of that name terrified him more than anything else. He grabbed the mouse. His hands were still shaking, but his mind felt strangely empty. He opened the folder. There was only one file left inside. Alex _archive.zip. He didn't click it, but the cursor moved. Very slowly, as if an invisible hand was gently guiding his wrist. Alex tried to stop it, but his hand wouldn't obey. The cursor hovered over the file and clicked. Instantly, the screen washed out in blinding white. He wanted to scream, but his jaw wouldn't open. It felt as if his very voice was being sucked into the monitor. As the light faded, a video feed appeared on the screen. Live _view. In the video sat Alex. Right now, sitting at the desk. But the Alex in the video was smiling. The real Alex was on the verge of tears, but the Alex on the screen looked completely, chillingly at peace. At that moment, Alex realized something terrifying. The folder had never been trying to delete him. It had been trying to replace him. The Alex on the screen moved his lips. The sound didn't come from the speakers. It echoed directly inside Alex's head. Your space has been optimized. Alex shook his head. No. No. But the Alex on the screen simply nodded. Unnecessary parts have been deleted. The moment those words were spoken, the real Alex suddenly felt light. The sensation of physical weight vanished. A sharp, Prickling numbness crawled up from his fingertips. He looked down at his hands. His hands were dissolving into thousands of tiny, glowing points of light. He tried to scream, but the scream didn't come from his throat. It transferred directly into the screen. A silent scream. Only the air vibrated. The last thing he saw was the Alex on the screen raising a hand and hovering it over the keyboard. Enter. In that fraction of a second, the real Alex was compressed, crushed into a single point of light, and violently sucked into the monitor. The room fell completely silent. Only the steady hum of the laptop fan remained. On the desktop, there was only one file left. Alex_archive.zip. Size, 0 bytes. And right below it, a brand new folder materialized. User_you. If this story sounds like a bit of an exaggeration right now, that's okay. Alex thought the exact same thing at first. He thought it was just a glitchy folder that wouldn't delete. And it only took a few days for that thought to be completely erased. So tonight, before you turn off your computer, just check one more time. In the corner of your desktop, or hiding among your icons. See if there's a folder sitting there with a blank name. And ask yourself if you can really just ignore it and go to sleep. Because the moment you think, I'll just delete it later, that folder might already be turning your day into files. The exact time you drank your coffee. The exact moment you sent that text. Even the words you muttered to yourself in an empty room. And one day, very quietly, the name will change. User_you. When that happens, will you still try to hit delete?